I didn't know Zoom gives you that notification. Thank you. Okay, so for people who have joined just now, um, thank you for joining. Thank you for giving me your time over the weekend. So I know it is a precious time for all of you, and it means a lot to me. And before we start, I would just like to put a disclaimer um, that whatever I present here today are examples of my own personal experiences gathered over the years. I have about 2 decades of experience in the IT industry, with me getting associated with Agile almost a decade back. And they'll be from different organizations, different teams, different clients, different individuals, and also whatever I've learned from various podcasts, videos over the course of the period. And I would like to maintain complete confidentiality here with no association to my current or previous organization or people or teams. Okay, so let's begin. Let me just share my screen and we can start. Please do call out during the session if you have any questions, as I'm able to see only one screen which I'm presenting. So if you have any questions, please do call out. Before I start, I would just want to understand if you can all give me a quick thumbs up if you're familiar with the Agile concepts, so that I can uh, adjust my presentation accordingly. Is Agile completely new, or if you're familiar with it, just give me a thumbs up. If you're not familiar, please do not give me a thumbs up. Okay, I take it that Agile is. Thank you, Binay. Thank you for joining and thanks for the note. Okay, thank you, Lydia. I think you've given a thumbs up. Okay, so I take it that amongst the audience, 2 out of you know about Agile. The rest are not very much familiar with Agile. Um, so let me just give a quick introduction about Agile, and then we will deep dive into the role of coaching in the Agile framework and Agile methodology and the frameworks associated with it. So traditionally, project management was being worked on in a different way. I have a slide presenting how things were in the traditional way and a comparison between that and Agile. In a short while, I'll present that, but to just give you a brief. Uh, Earlier days, work was more driven in a waterfall, primarily a waterfall methodology across the organizations, especially in the software industry, wherein each aspect of, they were called as projects, and the key aspect of that what traditional method was, the work, people would go to the work will come to a from a customer to the organization, and people would be pulled from different aspects from different teams and put into a project. And this traditional way of working had its own advantages, disadvantages. We'll look at that in a short while. What are the differences? How the transformation from the traditional ways of working happens to agile ways of working. Agile focuses. I'm not going by the book definition. I'm going by, like I said, my own personal experiences and knowledge on it. So the transformation to agile happens with with the shift in way of looking things. The organization started building things more incrementally. They gave more room for experimentation, more room for failures, but quick failures, rather than waiting for the entire duration of the project once it is completed and then you realize after 2 or 3 years that my project has failed. You're trying to build things incrementally. One example that I usually take is WhatsApp. When WhatsApp was released, I think the first version, we had a very, very basic version of WhatsApp. And once the organization, whoever they created it, they got the knack of, or the sense of the success, right, of how it was received by the market. They built a skeleton. There is they deployed it into the market, they estimated and evaluated the benefit of out of it, and then they started building more and more features into it. And now WhatsApp is having payments and lots of other aspects. Initially, I don't think they had even video calls enabled. So slowly the features started getting added incrementally over a period of time by getting a pulse of the customers. And that is what agile ways of working is all about. You do not establish what is needed in the market today and build something over a course of 2 3 years and then understand what is the pulse, right? So that's what agile ways of working are. So agile ways of working, what I'm planning to cover as a context today is the fact how in the agile ways of working coaching is built into it as an aspect. Okay. And that's what this role of team coaching or coaching in the agile world means, how it is built in as an aspect by default. And also it gives us opportunities to do coaching and coach the individuals and teams during the process. Now, if you see, I've put in the title team in braces because it focuses both on individual as well as team coaching, right? And lots of concepts that have come in the market in the recent years over a period of time are constantly focusing more on people shift in mindset, how people are working, receiving, collaborating. Lot of aspects are very close to what we all do in coaching, right? So um, yeah, I'm more inspired to create an environment. The safe to learn, safe to contribute, and safe to challenge was taken from the internet, but then I am inspired to do that through coaching within the organizations and the teams and individuals that I work with, and hence I have put it there. So this is primarily the shift that we are talking about, the mindset shift. Please stop me anywhere if you have any questions so that we can address that. Mindset shift for organization transformation. This is a very nice article. I put the reference also here, wherein the focus shifts from business, money, processes to more like goals and people. Okay. Um, so this shift is very much a scope for us to do coaching, right? So people are now focusing more from profit to purpose, and that purpose bringing profit to organizations. They cannot do away with the money aspect of it, but the purpose is going to bring in more profit to people. How is this going to add value to my business? What is the goal that I should set over a period of time? So our OKRs, strategic themes, all that that is built in is part of this purpose. Then the next shift happens at the leadership level. From hierarchies, we say that Agile has more of a circular networking. There is no hierarchy here, top down approach. So leaders operate more in a servant leadership more. We enable teams to work, so we have to network and collaborate with the teams. So from hierarchy, when we shift, the shift is from escalations to more collaboration. Okay, so that's what this means. So the teams do not escalate to their manager, but teams try to collaborate within their networks and then reach out to the managers again to collaborate to get an outcome. That's the difference between the traditional way and the agile way. Again, from controlling to empowering, more alignment and empowering is focused. From the project manager controlling, they do not control the work that people do. They stop controlling that in the agile ways of working. They give more free hand, more decentralized decision making. The team takes decisions. The team is empowered to organize things for them that works in the best interest of the purpose that is given to them. Again, from planning to experimentation, planning, lot of plans used to be developed in the traditional ways of working. Even now we do planning in agile, uh, but we give room for experimentation. The previous plans, there is a way of looking at it, things were more linear. They were not split across iterations. So if there is a mistake, by the time it reaches the market, the mistake grows. If there is a gap in understanding, the mistake grows. But here, what we are doing, since we are building things in smaller iterations, there is a scope for making mistakes. The impact of doing that is assessed, and is usually the risk and impact is less in the case of that shift. And these shifts, all of these, what I'm talking about, give us the scope to do coaching. All of this that we are talking about has enabled us as leaders to coach our teams and leaders within the organizations to enable the teams to start looking at this aspect, right? So we coach the teams usually, or the leaders, from planning to experimentation. The old ways of working, many leaders are still struggling to let go of that command, control, and planning. They are waiting to kind of or they are being coached to get into the experimentation mode where they can give a free hand to the teams. It's a difficult process and it requires a lot of mindset shift to do that. And then hence comes the coaching aspect, where you keep asking them, what is the impact, what do you foresee, how can you mitigate, what challenges, what is at stake. These kind of things become a coaching aspect built into it. From privacy to transparency, again, a very, very difficult task to let go. I've seen through the transformations that organizations go through, letting go of things that you think are important and not necessary, the need to know basis that organizations were holding on to, now becomes more transparent, because we have to enable and empower our teams to take decisions. So this transparency is very key for us to bring in that shift. And the letting go aspect involves a lot of coaching to the leaders and the team members. And down the line, I will also cover what stops us from being transparent in these aspects as well, which probably most of you are familiar and have also seen in your experiences. Anything anybody would like to share if they have seen this shift having an impact, or you've had an opportunity to be part of it and coach people through this mindset shift across organizations? Okay. Okay. So moving on. Coming to the Agile Manifesto, Agile in itself is a methodology. It does not give us any direction that you should have your certain aspects, run your show this way or that way, but it gives us a purpose, it gives us a goal, and it says, so this point is pretty critical because this manifesto points, just 4 points, but they are very powerful. uh, this is generally interpreted in a wrong way, right? So many people focus and say, you know what, I don't have to follow for processes because Agile Manifesto says I should focus more on individuals and people rather than processes and tools. However, that's not true. Tools and process still hold good within organizations. It's just that the value of the items on the left are more important than the value in the items on the right. So these are necessary, but these are more important. That's what it says. So individuals and interactions over processes and tools. Again, the focus is coming to people from the non-living stuff of processes and tools. We are bringing focus to more individuals and interactions. We want this more, rather than focus completely and say that we go by the book. This is how the process has to be followed, right? So there are certain framework processes that are in place, but they are just guardrails. They make sure that we are abiding by the Agile Manifesto. Working software over comprehensive documentation. Again, this is a very important point, working software, because it gives the teams uh, a visibility with the audience. Here, working software, when the teams showcase in the agile processes, the stakeholders are working together. the product management, the business owners, the developers, project managers, everybody is together in this, and they are all noticing what the teams have achieved over a duration of time. So, hence, working software over comprehensive documentation. This does not mean we can do away with documentation. It just means that this takes more value and is preferable to showcase rather than showing that I'm done with my analysis, I'm done with my design.
And I think this is the sixth point from you guys. Mention to your colleagues or probably to you that
Sorry, Binay, can you have something to add?
are
I'm
you
not I'm not able to hear you, Binay, clearly. If you have anything to add.
and
Hello?
one more thing is what I want to ask is
Okay, I'm gonna mute there. Okay. I think okay. So the next one is customer collaboration. Again, focus on people, more focus on what the customer wants, what is the ask, what. So very similar to coaching, where uh, we are going with the flow of the client. We want to make sure that whatever the customer needs, we adapt ourselves to that change, make sure the coaching conversations go in that direction, very similar to that. And that is how things go even in the customer collaboration aspect. Responding to change over following a plan. Again, responding to a change is more important than us sticking to the book by the plan, and saying that we will not change because we are in the middle of the project. So that is why the smaller iterations, smaller uh, deliverables, we package things together, keep building iteratively so that we can respond to these changes of the market. How are these frameworks related? Now, Agile Manifesto gave us a certain guideline, but that doesn't tell us how to operate within those guidelines. How do I ensure that there is more interaction and collaboration? How do I ensure working software is presented? How do I ensure that customer collaboration is happening? I'm responding to changes. And that is where these frameworks come into picture and how they are relevant to coaching. So, a lot of aspects of coaching are technically built into these frameworks directly. I did not realize this until I became a coach myself. I was just familiar with the agile concepts, and then slowly I realized that any outcome that comes out of this framework is generally very soft in nature. There is no um, hard and fast detail as to you finish something and you get an output, and this is how it goes. So the process in itself is built in such a way that you get benefits slowly, and the mindset shift happens slowly through these frameworks. Okay, so how do these frameworks enable that mindset shift is what we are going to say, the first slide that I presented. Any questions until now so far? Thank you. Okay, thank you. I hear all is good. Okay, so, different frameworks have different ways of working. So, Kanban is a process. It's usually a pull system where work flows through different columns on a board, and it's a very visual way of representation of work. So, very simple board would look like you have a to-do column, a checklist of things to be done or items to be worked on. You have a in progress and a done. The team can customize these visuals on different tools like Azure DevOps or uh, Miro or even My Mural, Jira. There are a lot of tools in the market that enable you to do that visual. And very similar to coaching, this brings a mindset of where to focus, brings very visual of what is important for me to work on today, right? So Kanban follows that day-to-day planning approach, and generally in Scrum, the next one is Scrum. In Scrum, the Kanban is also inbuilt. So sometimes so it's called Scrumban as a term. So Scrum enables us with a scheduled duration-based planning. So the planning is done between what will I deliver between 1 week and 4 weeks. Very, very short term goals. So generally, we are trying to break down the entire journey. If I say I have to travel 500 miles, we are breaking it down to say, okay, first 100 miles, I take a short break, I have my breakfast. The next 100 miles, I take a short break and probably look at the beautiful view and things like that. So it breaks down the entire journey with a specific goal in mind. So, and hence Scrum is pretty important. And during the sprint planning, the team works out on the purpose, and this is very similar to the goal that we try to achieve, or what is my measure of success going to look like in our coaching conversations. And this is the conversation that the team has, and this is facilitated by the Scrum Master, or in terms of SAFe, they are now called as team coach, as in terms of SAFe 6.0, they're referred to as team coach. So you will see how this coaching aspect is built into the process itself to change the mindset of not looking at something that we're going to achieve in 2 years' time. But this is my roadmap, but how do I break it down into smaller iterative goals? So that's why they call it as a sprint goal or a iteration goal. Again, how is coaching built into the daily scrum? This is an interesting one because recently I saw a video where uh, I understood that scrum.org has moved away from the usual three questions. So in Scrum, there are three questions that the team answers. It's like a status update meeting or a daily Scrum call, which the team made it into a status update meeting where they will say, you know what, I'm working on this task. I was working on this yesterday, I'm working on this today, and I have no blockers and no impediments. And suddenly the team started thinking that there is no value out of this. I'm not understanding where the person stands in terms of work. So daily Scrum is now becoming more of an experimentation for the teams. The teams decide now, again, an autonomous given decision making given to the teams to decide how they would want to operate on a daily Scrum calls. So there's an interesting video that I saw which said something called as banana peel method. And this banana peel method is very interesting, where if you are physically in office, you have a board, you stick a card of task that the team has to do on that day, and then you stick a banana peel to it, and the team starts focusing on the task which has the most rotten banana steel, which means it is starting to stink. I need to focus my attention to item aging. My work item is starting to age here, and I need to focus on that. So it gave more freedom to the teams to start deciding on what should be my focus item in each of my daily sprints, daily scrums. And they can experiment. They can use this technique for 1 week or one sprint. Sprint is usually a duration between 1 week to 4 weeks, and they can decide whether I want to do this now, I want to do this later. How do I move this card? And the entire team just gets to it to make sure that work item is moved. So it's a very creative way of thinking. So since Scrum.org has moved out of these three questions, teams now have the freedom to decide how they would want to run their daily Scrum shows. Now, retrospective is one of the most interesting ones where I have seen lots of engagements related to team coaching. My personal experience, I decide just retrospectives based on the demographics of the team during that period. So, if there are trust issues with the team, you can run trust based retrospectives. So, I usually refer to a site called as funretrospectives.com, brings in a lot of fun elements into it. So if you see a lot of conflicts within the team, you can run 360 appreciation. There is no 360 feedback, but 360 appreciation retrospective. I tried that once and got very good results. So the person is made to sit in the center. Everybody around just praises the person, and the person is so overwhelmed with the praises that the performance just shoots up over the next period of sprint. So the scrum masters or the team coaches can definitely try different ways what works for the team. They might succeed, they might fail. I've also had some failures, but a few times that we have succeeded to get through to the team beyond the issues that the teams are facing in that duration of time. So you can decide. We have also done lots of retrospective with value based retrospective. What are the values as a team that they would want to decide for themselves, and they stick by it in the next period, and then they evaluate how did we do in terms of values that we wanted to establish. For example, they can decide we want transparency or openness to be a value that we would like to establish over this period of time. And then they evaluate how open were people, where did they have challenges in terms of collaboration and communication. So it's a very interesting way of team coaching. It doesn't follow any specific model of coaching like Perel or Sit Clear, but it follows very freehand coaching in terms of team coaching, because you are looking at the demographics of the team in that instance and deciding what works best for this team. Yeah. I did a very interesting retrospective just to share one more experience. It was called Easy as a Pie retrospective, and an interesting story about that Easy as a Pie is a very you divide the pie as a circle into different sectors, and then you say there's something called as cutie pie, something called as easy as a pie, pie in the sky, stale pie. So you decide based on that, and what each of those sectors mean is that the team identifies what was very easy to do, that is easy as a pie. Cutie pie is where people appreciate each other for all the things that people did. Pie in the sky is the aim or the goal they want to set for the next sprint or duration. And then there was this situation where I drew this on the board. It was a physical session. I drew this on the board with the sectors and a lot of cards, post-its, sticky notes on the board. And then we noticed that the cutie pie had most number of notices or the post-its, um, more than the others. And one of the team members, he wakes up and when he gets up and he says, "Ma'am, pretty sure you did this on purpose. The sector of cutie pie is the biggest of all the pie distribution, and hence it has more number of uh, cards." And frankly, I think it was by chance, but then I realized the the games that our brain plays and how that has helped the team to appreciate each other more in that aspect. And it was a very good, interesting learning for me. I thought I should share it with the group. So SAFE, very similar to Scrum, SAFE is Scaled Agile Framework. Completely, the underlying aspect is Scrum. The inspect and adapt ceremonies cover your retrospectives, the demo sessions, and working. So where they show this working software, problem solving sessions, all of these come under inspect and adapt. There's a very interesting concept in SAFE called as confidence voting in planning. It's called the Fist of Five, where the teams come together in a video, or even if they are virtual or if they are co-located, they can be in a room. And then the release train engineer, who's usually the coach there, facilitating the entire event, says, you know what, how confident are we that we are going to meet our plan, right? So it's a very interesting one, because the teams immediately raise their hand and they say two, three, four, five. It's a rating between one and five. So if you are a one and two, then it brings in more conversations into picture. Then you evaluate. The team starts evaluating the strengths, the challenges, what do they think is not going right. It's a very good scope for coaching again. I tried this approach before doing the confidence voting. As a group, we discussed, like, just created two columns, and we had challenges and strengths, where the teams brought in what strengths the team possesses to meet the goals and what challenges that they foresee would stop them from meeting the goal. And it was a very interesting session, and that had a very good impact, and they received it well for doing the confidence voting. Just prior to that, we did this exercise, and it was interesting. Brings in a good scope for coaching again. Okay. And again, PI planning objectives, very similar to sprint and iteration goals. This is a This is usually a 10-week period that we are planning, and we say we are going to achieve this business goal, and the team starts breaking it down into smaller goals during their sprints and tries to achieve a goal. And this entire process again is like coaching. I facilitated these sessions and realized that a lot of learnings from coaching comes into play here, because sometimes the teams are stuck, sometimes they don't know how to put it in a language that they want, sometimes there is a gap between product managers and the team. So all of these things are bridged with the kind of questions and the tools that we enable them to visualize and see where the goals are, what they want to do. WSJF is called the weighted shortest job first. This is a very simple concept, yet very, very powerful, where everything that the business wants to do is evaluated in terms of time criticality, in terms of risk reduction. What is the risk that we are going to address by doing this task? And what is the business value it is going to bring? What is the user benefit it is going to bring? Against all of this is measured against the job size. So if there is a small task I do and that's going to bring more value or reduce more risk to the business, or is very, very time critical, with a small change that I do. And so this entire process, when I was explaining to the product management and the business, it was a very good opportunity to do a coaching session with them, because what value do you see, what is the visual, what is the, it's basically representing all of these factors in terms of numbers. And it's as good as the tools that we use for people to visualize, to establish a count or a rating against what they want to measure their success in. So this entire process is a good coaching opportunity again within the organizations when we do. Is there anything that I missed? People are familiar with Agile. Is there any other framework which you think is missing here and brings in value? Maybe I'm not familiar with. Want to bring on the table? Sorry, I've not noticed the chat also. If there's something, Kaizen, yeah, Kaizen is another lean ways of working. Safe promotes a lot of. Kaizen is more into automation and stuff. Yes, that also brings in value to business, and you have opportunity to do coachings as well to understand what can be done to solve certain issues. Problem solving is one aspect where we also look at it. Anything else? I'm the only one speaking, so feeling a little weird here. So I just wanted to have some interaction and see if Six Sigma. I'm not very familiar with Six Sigma, Binay. If you want to share an example from that, please. Can't hear you, Binay, if you're speaking. I see you're unmuted, but can't hear you still. You want to put something on the chat? Any examples where you have seen Six Sigma or Kaizen giving you opportunities for coaching the teams or team members? Ah, sad. Can you put your learnings on the chat? Sure. Sure, Vinay, you can put it on the chat, please. Thank you. Okay, while he puts it on the chat, let me just proceed. There's one more framework, or not a framework exactly, but one more way of working in Agile called Spotify. This also talks a lot about autonomy given to the team. So it talks about high alignment, low alignment, what happens in each of these cases and how they are different. Um, so Spotify focuses more on creating high alignment and high autonomy, which is important because of the rapid changes that keep happening within our organizations. So it gives us It gives the teams more autonomy to take decisions. You're decentralizing the decision making and giving it to the teams to decide, who are very close to the work that they are doing, and they know the dynamics of the technology, what are changing, what is changing. So the decision is generally made and the planning is done in this area by the team. So we just enable as coaches or as leaders to ask them, what is the impact, what are the risks you foresee, how would you want to enable this, how would you want to achieve this, how confident are you. These are the kind of questions we ask, which are pretty much like coaching. And then the accountability is established with the team, because they have taken the decision and they decide what they want to achieve in a given time frame. And that's how it is achieved. Spotify also has different ways of working. They name their teams differently. They call them squads instead of agile team. They call them. They have guilds. They have tribe. They have different ways of representing. But overall, if you see, the concept is more or less similar to all the other agile frameworks that we've seen. Um, one has to follow. Okay, solutioning and design. Okay, so what I see is Vinay has put with Lean Six Sigma, one has to follow DMAIC. Sorry, I'm not familiar with that, Vinay, and DMADB designing. Okay, so solutioning and designing aspects is where you are suggesting that we have the scope for coaching. Is that correct, Vinay? Did I understand that correctly? Ah, okay, there's a big explanation that you has put. Okay. Define, measure, analyze, improve, and control. Yes. It's basically the PDCA, right? We call it plan, do, check, and adjust cycle. Yeah. Got it. Okay. So that's what this define, measure, analyze, design, and verify stand for. Okay. Thank you, Binay, for sharing that good info there. Yes. So when we do this entire cycle, so that's what I also mentioned about this inspect and adapt. Similar to that, what Binay is also saying is similar to what we see here, right? People inspect, they understand what is it that is slowing people down, what is a challenge, they adjust the risks and the impact of that over the period of time, take some actions corresponding to that. Nice. So this is just a summary of what we have seen so far. Focus on frameworks in Agile. The main focus of every all of these frameworks is to create more self-organizing teams, more autonomous teams where they are taking decisions. Respecting boundaries is very critical, because the boundaries are built by the framework, and they say that we will deliver a software or deliver a piece of work within 2 weeks of time.
Hello, hello.
Hello, yes. Anybody would like to add?
Can you hear me?
Yes, Binay. Now
Okay,
I can.
finally it worked.
Wonderful. Finally, thank you.
No,
Yes.
I think thank you, Rami, for walking this brilliant frameworks in Agile. It is very important that though we are working on either solutioning or designing, but as a coach, it is important for us to drive this and then understand that what are the road blockers, and then that's where, as you mentioned, absolutely appropriately, that's where the coaching comes in into perspective, right? How do we can coach, how do we can help them to open their mindset and then probably clear any blockages they have. So yes, absolutely in agreement with you, and thank you for the session.
Thank you, Binay. Thank you for adding that. Yeah. So from my own experience, Binay, as a coach, the way I frame these questions completely changed. So maybe the purpose of doing these agile ceremonies and the facilitation and everything was remaining the same. But the way I started framing my questions, I got rid of certain why questions. I framed them differently, brought in more aspects of how we can enable ourselves to become more servant leaders, right? So that's this aspect of agile leadership. Scrum master or team coach is usually a servant leader. How do we enable ourselves to become that servant leader? and then build more trust with the team. So the coaching aspects brought in these aspects for me to change my approach uh, of how I'm dealing with the teams, right? And then give them space and room to make mistakes, learn from that, and grow, giving them the psychological safety aspects to make decisions. It's okay to be wrong. As a leader, I stand beside you in case there is a need, so do not worry about taking decisions. And a culture of continuously changing and improving and adapting. That was the biggest focus. That's the biggest focus of Agile, and that's the biggest shift that I had, that Agile enables, and I started seeing it differently as a coach. Um, and that when the two merged, it was a great learning for me. Now, while we said all this, there are challenges in the real world also. Okay, so in the real world, not everything is green. So lots of times, coaching also helps in solving these. Lots of times, as a coach, I also failed. Right, I cannot generalize it, but I have failed in certain aspects, in terms of how the team sees or how individuals see things. So, few key reasons or factors that play a major role here is that people tend to look at external root causes. We always tend to look outside of our team what can be fixed. Somebody else is not giving me something, and hence I'm delayed. Something is not happening somewhere, and hence this is impacting me. How can I enable this to change? Sometimes does not come out in a problem solving session or a retrospective. That's one. Job security plays a very key role. Many a times, if certain questions as a coach, even if you're asking things for enablement, it's perceived in a different way because of the risk of job security for them, especially if the reporting manager is also in the call. If it's a big forum that we are talking in, job security plays a major role. Competition across teams, across team members, is again a killer of innovation, killer of experimentation, because there's competition and we want to make sure. And organizations generally encourage competition as well in many aspects. For me, as long as it's personally, I feel if it's not something like a hackathon, which is bringing in more innovation on the table, a competition is not necessary. But organizations do not see it that way. Um, Focus on KPIs and metrics. This is a very tricky one as a facilitator, as a coach, and also in my current roles. I try to avoid showcasing numbers to the team, though sometimes that shows them the mirror as to where we stand and can we do problem solving based on this, because we are seeing certain trends. uh, but it's the focus on numbers in each of the sprints or iterations, I try to avoid. So the only thing that we have to, as leaders, enable them to do is focus on the commitment that they are making, and they are making the commitment, so they are accountable and responsible for it during each planning event. So they decide, keep the focus on commitment and the quality of work. So I keep telling them, you do not worry about the numbers, just focus on commitment and quality. These are the only two things that the teams have to focus on. Beyond that, the numbers are just for my sake and the management's sake, and just to make sure that everything is there, in place. Do not keep, if you focus on these two aspects of commitment and quality, these numbers will automatically fall in place. That's my usual guidance to the teams. Performance management and reward system is again a killer of coaching, because sometimes uh, the performance management is more individual focused. They are not team focused. So maybe as an individual, this person is a low performer, but he or she is a good team player, and the team is doing excellently well. The person is not generally rewarded for that. So it's a and when we coach these people, when we talk to these people, it feels as if they are doing good overall, because they are team players and they are taking care of the systemic things. However, individually, if when you see, it's not satisfying to for them to take any action for themselves. So it becomes a little bit of challenge and and a balance that is needed as a coach or a leader that we have to establish. Teams expecting solutions. Many a times I've heard people, Ramya, I came to you with a problem. Please don't ask me questions. Please give me solutions. It's a very, very big challenge that I have seen overall. And many people, they feel, and this coaching culture is becoming a norm in the organizations. And many a times I've seen people coming back and saying, you know what, I went to my manager for a problem, and then he's asking me questions back. He's asking me to figure out a solution. I went to him because I wanted a solution. So that mindset shift that we spoke in the beginning is something which is yet to happen and absorbed into the DNA of the organizations. Coachability aspect, again, chemistry between, because we are leaders of multiple teams, coachability comes into picture a lot, because many sometimes the teams, the chemistry between the facilitator, the leader, and the members is not working out, that they do not feel, they're probably not looking for coaching there. So sometimes it becomes a challenge to adapt to that situation and move out of your coaching hat and give them solutions at times and mentor them, or use different other facilitation aspects. Time pressure is a very, very key thing. I put this last because time pressure is a key aspect and one of the killers of coaching. So I always give this analogy. Coaching is like Ayurveda medicine. Okay, the process is slow. It does not give you benefits like allopathy medicine. It doesn't tell you that you take a crocin and paracetamol and your fever is gone in 30 minutes. It doesn't do that. It's a very, very slow process. And Agile also focuses more on that. It's a slow process. All of the aspects that Agile and these frameworks cover are slow aspects, and they are slowly engraved into the DNA of the people. But unfortunately, in organizations, they expect, I know as external coaches or even as leaders within organizations, we see the organizations want to see a quick result. I'm paying you for something, 1 hour session, 6 hour sessions, and then they want to see a result. So it's not very easy. The things are engraved into teams and peoples and people and organizations over generations and years, conditioned into it, and then expecting sudden change. Like I said, it's not allopathy medicine, it is Ayurveda. It goes slow, it is absorbed, and it addresses the root cause of the mindset rather than just addressing um, the overall tip of the iceberg, so, or the behavior aspect. And that process is very slow, which I think is, for all of us as coaches and organizations and leaders, it's yet to be absorbed in as a challenge. Yeah, so that's it from my end. That ends my presentation. Any thoughts to share? Any questions? Anything that you feel you would like to add? I'll stop sharing here. Thank you, Vinay, for switching on your cam.
Hi, thanks, Ramya. This is Prithvi.
Hi, Vasil.
Hi. Thanks for taking us through this. Now, my only observation or the question would be, uh, suppose an organization has various departments, right? Okay, you could say the product development and the HR, the L&D. For an agile environment, does the entire organization need to adopt that agile uh, format, mechanism of working, or you think uh, in silos we can adapt this and yet get efficient results?
Okay. So I will share my own personal experience in this, Biswajit. So the transformations I've seen, they do not do a big bang, because the big
Hmm.
bang generally has its own disadvantages and pushbacks. So they start, generally it has to flow from the top. That's a given. If any transformation is flowing bottom up, it is not going to work. It has to flow from the top, from the c suits, that a transformation is getting embedded into the daily ways of working. So that flows from the top, and it is done in pockets usually, to ensure that one group sees the benefit of it, and that benefit is usually passed on to the rest of the organization. If you try doing a big bang, the chances of failure is higher. That's also, there are advantages of that as well sometimes, because you're making the transformation across the entire pyramid. Um, but from what I've seen transformation in pockets. So they try to target the development or the teams first, and then slowly spill it across the HR, the finance, IT, and the other areas of work, because they are more cross-functional in nature. However, when we do that, we can also bring these elements if they are embedded into the day-to-day activities of people. For example, if I have to function, I'm a developer in an organization, I have to function with the finance team. I bring that person in and build a cross-functional team with a representative from finance. So,
Okay.
but not necessarily that the entire finance team is already agile.
True.
So,
True. Got that. Yeah.
yeah, did it answer
Yeah.
your
Yeah.
question?
Go ahead. Yeah. Yeah. You have answered this question. So my challenge was like when I was leading at around 300, 400 people. So if uh, uh, like I was into that where we have to shift the mindset of the people from uh, premeditated working to agile working. Okay, and mind shifting mindset is a very tedious job. It takes a lot of time. It's not a matter of okay. And then because we were a bigger organization, there were people going from one team to another team.
Mhm.
Okay, and they were shifting their base from one team to where they were probably not following the agile method. Okay,
Mhm.
and then the leader used to say, "Well, just forget what you have learned there. Here, this is what we will do." And that is where the entire coaching go for a
Mhm.
entire hard work that I had done to bring them to this level. Okay,
Mhm.
uh, went for a toss, and I mean that has led to a lot of other things because then they start comparing the leaders. Okay, my leader is good and the leader is not so good, and that is where that's what I was asking because you have given us some very interesting uh, technical way of doing it. Okay, and that I think is very very crucial of how you apply. And I'm of the belief that if it comes from the top, okay,
Mhm.
then it has to be done for the entire organization. You cannot simply say that
Yeah.
and then the entire purpose is different. So that is so throughout when I was listening to your session, these are the things that were running in my mind. I thought maybe at the end I will ask that question. Yeah. Thanks anyway, but it was a really good insight. Thank you.
Thank you. I hope it brings some benefit to people. Yeah. Thank you. Anybody else wants to share anything before we close? Okay. 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 Thank you, Manik, for your feedback. I
Thank
hope it
you.
helps. Please do reach out if there is anything you need as well. Yeah.
Have a great day. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Have a great day and rest of the good weekend. Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye.